What's up guys, it's Manga Time once again. I'm here today to bring you my review of Bleach 580, The Light. This is the 100th chapter of this arc, and it's pretty good, even if it is just a setup chapter for what's coming next. So, the chapter's called The Light. Now, this doesn't really have anything to do with the chapter until the last page. When I first saw it, I was like, is Stoma to L going to show up? But I was wrong. I'm glad they didn't, because that would have just been silly after what happened last week. So, anyway, this week is literally dedicated entirely to the FemRitters, the Bambi Brigade. You know, they've got loads of names. And they're a group of characters that I'm not particularly interested in. I don't think they're... Two of them... Okay, so I like two of them. Okay, I like Stoma to Z, Giselle, and Stoma to G, Lil Toto. The other two I don't care about. But this is a good chapter, actually. Surprisingly for me, I liked this chapter. I thought it was entertaining. The art was still a bit off in places. Like, Kubo doesn't draw Candice Catnip very well, I don't think. She's always very, like, angular. It kind of just looks like he rushes it. But anyway, speaking of Candice, we get to see that she's starting to T the Thunderbolt, which we basically called. We said she was the Thunder, exactly the same thing. She's the Thunderbolt, and, you know, she's just blasting these Shinigami. She gets berated by Giselle, as usual. She just tries to blast them again, but Kenpachi jumps up behind her. Now, Kenpachi's pretty battered at this point. And so, like, Giselle's able to kind of disappear and reappear behind him. And while Giselle, I don't think's drawn all that well, her ability looks kind of cool. She's literally kind of just holding electricity in her hands. And it's neat because we don't have an awful lot of electricity users in Bleach. And she just zaps Kenpachi. And then Meninus McCallum's Stoma P appears next to him. The other one I don't really care about. But at least her power is a little more unexpected than Candice's. She does this enormous punch and smashes Kenpachi into the ground. And at this point I was like, okay, she's the punch. She's the punch. Which I was wrong about. But basically, Candice is like, you know, how the hell can you still move around after battling Gremmy? Are you some kind of monster? You know, it's kind of... We're hearing this a lot now. We know Kenpachi's a monster. Every character doesn't need to tell us. But anyway, a bunch of... This is kind of funny, actually, this chapter, because it's pretty much just Kenpachi getting beaten up, which is a strange sight in itself. But Kenpachi's men just kind of running back and forth and, like, being boxed in by each one of these FemRitters, and they keep getting killed at every corner, basically. This is like fodder. This is the definition of fodder, basically. So anyway, you know, these people are like, you know, what are you doing to the captain to protect him? And they start running, and then little Toto lands in front of them. And, you know, like, we're fighting Kenpachi. We were prepared to kill him while he's worn out. And basically, she then eats them. Yeah. And this shit is nightmare fuel. Like, I mean, I 100% called that she'd be the glutton. She was eating in every scene, you know, like, for ages. And what seems to sort of happen is her mouth, like, moves and opens up. Kind of, like, you know, just from a purely stylistic point of view, a little bit reminiscent of Pride from FMA, just the way it looks. And it seems to have this kind of bite radius, and it just kills everyone in the vicinity. It's really creepy because she's like a cannibal, basically. She's a cannibal. But yeah, she eats these Shinigami, and yeah, she's like, you know, you're not very tasty, but I'll use you as a snack. And she starts eating all these people, and yeah, she's revealed to be the glutton. But anyway, Kenpachi's like, you know, stop, you bastards, and he's like getting really hurt now. And Candice blasts him with lightning again. So Kenpachi's in a bad place right now, and he's like, you know, he's actually like getting close to kind of fainting. But as these guys are like, you know, Captain, there's a guy who looks really like Ikaku on this page at the bottom. But anyway, I know it's not. But anyway, Meninus appears over them with an enormous section of the city, and it was at this point I was like, oh, wait a minute, maybe she's the power. Maybe she's the power. I don't count that as calling it, considering I called it a page before it was revealed when she was showing us what she could do. But, you know, I was like, okay, she's the power. and she slams this piece of the city on these Shinigami, and she's like, you should give up. Typical bad guy talk. Pretty much the whole this entire chapter's dialogue is bad guy talk. There's nothing particularly interesting about it. But yeah, she's the power. And then we go to Giselle, the other one that I'm interested in. Because again, she's the most unique looking out of all of them, and she's kind of funny. She's like, I think you should run to your captain. I don't think you should run to me because I'm useless at fighting. Basically, she's baiting these guys into attacking her, and they do. One guy slashes her across the chest, and you get this really kind of really cool picture where she's like this, and she's got a huge slash. There's blood, and she's like, you're stained with my blood, and she still has this super happy look on her face. And it was at this picture that I realised I called it again that she's the zombie. I didn't necessarily call what she'd be able to do, but yeah, I called 3 of these guys epithets. But yeah, apparently when you're smeared with her blood, you become corpses only able to do what she tells you, which is creepy as hell. And she tells them all to commit suicide, and they do. They all just kill themselves, which is pretty dark. But anyway, just on the topic of Giselle, before we move on, as you know, when Bambietta was defeated by Komamura, Giselle was like, I'm going to make it so that, she says, we want you to always be with us, and then Bambietta's mega afraid of this. Now, to me, this ability doesn't seem like it would have anything to do with that scene. Like, a lot of people thought maybe if Giselle was the zombie, she would be able to turn Bambietta into like a personal puppet thing. But that doesn't seem to have happened. And that doesn't seem to be what her power is. Unless Giselle cut herself over Bambietta so that the blood would go on her, and then she made her do whatever she wants. But I can't really, I don't know about that. I don't know. I'm not sure. So that's very much still up in the air, I think. But anyway, we go back to Kenpachi, and he's like, he can't move. This is like crazy. He's like, I can't move. Is this the end? Because he was fighting Grammy beforehand, and now he's like completely battered, basically. And the girls are all like messing around. They're like, who's going to deliver the last blow? We should, play rock paper scissors to decide. Blah 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 blah. And then the big point of the chapter comes when there's an explosion in the sky behind them, very reminiscent of the end of the first invasion. After Yamamoto died. But yeah, there's an explosion in the sky, and it shocks the 4 girls, and that's the end of the chapter. Now, yeah, there's quite the bitch cliffhanger to leave us on, but there are a couple of things we can glean from this. Now, while there are a number of possibilities as to who this could be arriving, such as, Yachiru could be coming back in some shape or form, GINJOU with the rest of the Huaycamundo gang, and Unohana if she was still alive, but she's probably not. There are only realistically 2 choices. There's only 2 choices because the shape the smoke takes is that of the substitute Shinigami logo. So there's only 2 choices: Ichigo or GINJOU. Now, immediately I thought Ichigo. Kenpachi's had a last-minute save of Ichigo before, so this would be a nice parallel to that. But there's just a couple of reasons why I don't think it's Ichigo. One, and also this is about the time Ichigo should be arriving. One, the Bambi Brigade don't strike me as the enemies that Ichigo's going to face when he arrives. They strike me as too underwhelming in a way. I know it seems a bit weird to say that since they did just beat Kenpachi up, but he was very injured. So yeah, that's one reason. The second reason is, why would Ichigo enter like that? Why would there be a big explosion of smoke when we didn't have anything like that when Renji and Rukia arrived? They literally just dropped through the sky as if they kind of just, like a ripple on the water. So I don't necessarily see why Ichigo would explode like that. And 3, I kind of feel like, because of the fact it specifically appeared as a substitute Shinigami badge, I know Ichigo's a substitute Shinigami, and I know that's like his character, but I also feel that's GINJOU's big character trait. Now, another reason I feel this is in Ginjou's favour is that that explosion is very reminiscent of the explosion in the Soul Society arc made by the Kukaku firework crane cannon thing. So it would 100% not surprise me to see GINJOU, GINJOU, Tsukishima, and Giriko next week, because there's 4 Sternritter girls, and the 4 of them appearing just makes perfect sense. Like, you can just imagine, like, I mean, you know, you might say, well, the Fullbringers have no, like, relation to Kenpachi, so what's the point? But Kenpachi did embarrass Giriko in probably the fastest fight in the series. So, you know, Giriko could walk in like, you know, oh, well, look at you, look what's happened to you now, etc., etc. So, you know, that kind of rubbish. But yeah, that's kind of like, I just think I think that's well, not 100%, but I'm pretty certain it's the Fullbringers. Which I'm excited, really excited for. I don't care about Giriko in the slightest, but I'm very, very excited to see GINJOU and Tsukishima do something again. And I'd love to see GINJOU fight properly. Like, get to know the name of his Zanpakuto and everything. If it even really is his Zanpakuto. I don't suspect Kukaku's gone with them just yet. I think she'll come in later on with Yoruichi. But yeah, I think this is the Fullbringers. I think it's the Fullbringers. Because that looks like the explosion made from the crane cannon. The substitute Shinigami badge obviously indicates GINJOU or Tsukishima. Not Tsukishima, or ICHIGO. So yeah, that'd be awesome to see them. I'd be so happy. If it is them, though, who are they going to fight? That's the question. Now, I want to say Tsukishima will fight Giselle, because they're both the kind of creepy character in their entourage. That would be a great... I actually really like that fight, because Giselle's the one I like the most out of the Bambietta Brigade, and I really like Tsukishima. Now, the others, though, is a bit more difficult. If Kubo allows Giriko to use more of his time abilities, rather than just turning into the Hulk, I don't know, I could see him... I really don't know, it's difficult. Like, maybe... I don't know. It's really hard to say, actually, to be honest, after that. I think Tsukishima and Giselle is pretty much guaranteed if that happens. But other than that, it's difficult to call. GINJOU could fight Meninas, since she's just the power. But, yeah, I don't know. Or it could just be a brawl, but I don't think it will. That's not Kubo's style. But anyway, that's the end of the chapter, guys. I hope you liked the review. And I'm going to give the chapter an 8 out of 10. Panel of the week is difficult because there wasn't really any standout panel, I don't think. I liked the imagery used for Little Toto and Giselle, respectively. I thought they were really cool. But yeah, no, I really like the chapter. Okay, I'm going to give it an 8. Let me know in the comments below what you thought of this week's chapter. And who do you think is arriving at the end? Do you think I'm right? Do you think it's the Fullbringers? Or do you think it's ICHIGO? Or is it even someone else? So let me know in the comments below. Don't forget to subscribe and give this video a thumbs up. That would be really awesome. But until next week, guys, I'll catch you later. See ya. Oh, we're getting a colour page next week as well, which also indicates the arrival is very important. So it could be ICHIGO. I think the colour page is more in the defence of ICHIGO than GINJOU, but we could still get a Fullbringer colour page, which I'd be all for. Anyway, guys, see you next time.